This is Frank J. Avella with Awards Daily. One of the few queer-themed submissions in the International Feature Oscar also happens to be one of the few animated films. From the Philippines, Carl Joseph E. Papa's The Missing tells us the story of Eric, a young animator with no mouth, whose dark and repressed memories slowly return, as does a pesky alien bent on taking him from this earth. I'm happy to have Carl here to discuss this truly amazing work, and I just want to mention the final portion of this chat will contain some spoilers. Welcome, Carl.
Hello. Good morning or good evening, whatever time you're going to watch this.
So, Carl, let me start off with The Missing feels very personal. Can you speak a little bit about where the idea for the film came from and how it developed?
Actually, the story of The Missing came to me around 2018, 2019. I was on my way back from work and I noticed that some of my relatives are saying condolence to someone quite familiar to me. So, and then I researched that person, and then uh, I haven't seen that person for a very long time. And then I remembered everything that happened to me when I was young. So that guy made sexual advances to me when I was around 10 or 9. So yeah. And then it started from a place of anger when I wrote it down, but um I talked to some people, did a lot of research, did some interviews, and then I swerved the story to what you saw compared to what I wrote down initially. So yeah, it's based from personal experience along with other interviews.
Wow. Well, and the film is deliberately layered. It's almost like a puzzle for the viewer to piece together from the outside. But in Eric's mind, his own journey to confront these demons from his past is from the inside. So can you
Yes.
discuss this ambitious narrative you chose?
Um, I wanted it to feel like the film to generally feel like it's unraveling slowly because when you're trying to remember something from the past that you purposely forgotten or repressed, you don't remember things right ahead. It gradually builds up, and I didn't want to fully say the terms sexual abuse or rape in the film, or I didn't want to show it as well, but I showed it in the form of dissociation, wherein I showed the flashbacks in sort of 2D animated that feels nostalgic and feels like a memory of a young kid or a memory of a person where in this part of his memory it's stuck in the past. So
Wait, can you, I know you're an animator, but can you speak a little bit about why you chose to make it an animated film and discuss the technology used in crafting the film?
okay. When I wrote down the film and when we were putting it together, I know from the get-go that it was going to be animated, and I wanted to do rotoscope for this one. So um because when you see rotoscope animation, you have this sort of confusion. It makes you feel confused of whether things are real or not. And I wanted a visual style or something something that would complement the mental state of the character. In While the flashbacks are 2D, like what I said a while ago, um, I wanted to feel it. I wanted it to feel nostalgic so that it feels like it's a memory of a kid or someone whose memory is stuck in childhood. So what we did was um, this is my second rotoscope animated film. The first time I did it, we used Flash,
Yeah.
Adobe Flash and animate, but right, we don't have Flash anymore, so animate now. So what I did so that we will have more animators to be on board was um, I asked them what kind of software you are familiar to, and then what I did was made guides for each of those software. So I asked the help of those who were sort of more practicing to that kind of software because I'm more of a Flash and Photoshop guy. So
No.
so what I did was I processed the clip. We shot first, and then I processed the clips, and then I slice it into shots, and then I gave it to the animators, and then I got back the 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 scenes, and then I put it together. I added shadows, I added lights, and the background. So the background is 3D. It was made in Maya and Blender. Yeah. So
Wow. Well, and it's interesting because as I was watching it a second time, I was thinking about a live action adaptation, and I wondered, I mean, it's not impossible. It would be a little
it's not
difficult.
impossible.
Yeah, yeah, you need a bigger budget for sure.
Yes, not like what we had.
Tell me a little bit about casting, especially how Dolly De Leon came on board.
Um, so when the film is part of Cinemalaya, it's a local competition festival here in the Philippines. So when we found out that the material was selected to be part of the festival, so we made a list of actors that who we could work with, and then we paired them together and made some mix and match and tried to see which combination would feel um, cohesive and would deliver the material well. And one of I think one of our top choices were Carlo Aquino, Gio Gahol, and Dali De Leon. What I did when I just pitched the material to them with they haven't read the script, they haven't read the script yet, but I told the story and the motivation of the film and what the message was gonna be, and most of them, actually three of them, said yes right then and there.
Wow.
um, for Dolly, we talked to her. I think um, it was right after it was shown in after right after Triangle of Sadness was shown in Cannes. So when she went home to the Philippines, we met, and then I talked to her about the film, and but we did Zoom calls before. That's when she said yes to the project. So yeah, and Dolly De Leon had worked with Project 8 projects before. Um, Project 8 projects is the production company that I worked with for this film. And I, I I had that connection already.
Nice.
So it wasn't really hard getting them, but it was just hard finding a schedule that would that
Yeah.
that would that all of them are gonna be free. So
How many days did they work on the project?
actually, aside from the dubbing, Dolly worked earlier because she was also in the flashbacks. So for the shooting of the live action parts, because we shot first and then we converted it to within we did rotoscoping later on. So we shot everything for 4 days.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
oh, I'm curious. The look of Eric and Carlo in particular, were they based on anybody you knew, or like how did you come up with their animated look?
um what uh I wanted everyone to have bigger eyes. They don't have that big eyes in real life. So but I had pegs of um people I know. I wanted Eric to be lanky and thin and sort of frail, um, introverted kind of guy, and Carlo would be more like an extroverted kind of person. So we, along with my production designer, Ero Francisco, we talked about the colors or what kind of outfit they were going to wear. So Eric was more black and gray colors, and then Carlo was more of a warm. Uh, he would be wearing more warm colors. So as you would notice in the film, he would give his jacket to Eric. That's sort of passing his warmth to Eric. So and Dolly is sort of based on my mom's look. I mean, she
Aw.
my mom would be wearing shorts all the time. So I pegged my mom to be Rosalinda.
Nice. Oh yeah. This is one of the few queer theme films that is represented in the international race. And I love how refreshing it is because it's presented with an accepting mother. The boys are sweetly flirting, at the beginning. There's that shyness when you have a crush on somebody. It was captured really, really nicely, and there's no judgment for the gayness. Do you want to speak a little bit about that? Was that your intention, I'm sure?
Um, yes. Um, for the gayness part, here in the Philippines, I guess compared to other countries, we are more welcoming to people being gay, but not. I mean, I guess it's case to case to different families or how they were raised or the kind of environment they grew up in. But for me, it wasn't a problem. I was scared coming out, and I was already around 20s when I came out to my dad and to my sister. Um, but I guess that the fear was just in me. And when I said it to them, I was kind of fearing that they would look at me differently. But I guess it opened up our relationship more. And my dad was accepting, and his sister was also accepting of who I was. And I wanted the film to feel like that being gay is not out of the ordinary. It's normal. We should welcome. Yeah, I mean, if we have that in our family, it's their life, and we should just support them with their choice. Yeah. So that's what I did. I forgot the other questions.
Oh, no, 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 that's okay. I mean, you pretty much answered it. I mean,
Okay.
it's lovely. It really is lovely to see that, where that was just it was just accepted. It was just presented, and then we went from there, which brings me
Mm,
actually to the sci-fi aspect of the film, which is quite
mm.
interesting. Um, where did that come in the development process? Was it always something that was going to be a major part of the film?
Yes. It's going. It was also even in the earlier versions of film. It was already a part of uh the story. Eric is an animator, and as you would notice in his room, even when he was young, he was playing with robots, aliens, and his room is filled with drawings of aliens and anything sci-fi. And also in his house, when he's already grown up, he had comic books, figurines of sci-fi stuff. I mean, that I want to to show that he loves this kind of stuff, that this sci-fi stuff, that aliens, robots, and whatnot. And that's what he used to dissociate the bad memories with. Uh, he used aliens and spaceships and going to alien planets. Yeah, it was already in the part. It was already a part of the story from the get-go.
And we'll speak a little bit about that later.
So,
I wanted to ask you about the Filipino film industry. Is it difficult to get a film financed?
it's difficult to get an animated film financed.
Okay.
There would only, I guess, there are only a few crazy festivals that accepts, or there are few people that would risk getting an animated film done with a small budget, with a short timeline, and dealing with adult and not so typical animated themes.
Yeah.
Uh, but in films in general, we have a lot of opportunities to pitch to. So we have the FDCP and the Directors Guild of the Philippines, and there are also festivals wherein we can pitch the film to, and they finance the films. But um commercially speaking, you have to, I guess, pitch to bigger companies like ABS-CBN or GMA, or the bigger production companies. But sometimes it it would be an edge for you if you know someone in the
Okay.
industry, so
Yeah.
so they can give you a nudge.
That's the case everywhere.
Uh,
Uh,
not only in film.
right, not exactly in life, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the selection process like, and were you surprised by the missing being selected?
For actually there were seven films that were finalists to be selected as representative of the Philippines. Um we were just happy that we were part of it. And then when we got the email, oh my fucking God. I mean, actually, I got the message around 7 a.m. and I was in the toilet, and and was that too much information? Anyway,
It's
um,
fine.
I saw the message, and I was just done. I grew up watching Oscars, and I dream to be nominated or be, I mean, just going there. I started watching the Oscars when Titanic won. So, and I've been following film blogs ever since. So it's really a surreal experience. I mean, I already accomplished the goal of why I made the film, which was to send this message of hope to people who suffer the same fate as Eric. So everything that happened after the first screening was a plus for
Mm.
me. So it's really a big news seeing us seeing them. And this is the first time that the Philippines selected an animated film, much so a queer animated film. So it really means a lot.
Yeah, a lot of groundbreaking there. Yeah. I want to mention that this is the point where there are spoilers. So if anybody doesn't want to know about the spoilers, then now's the time to tune out. Um, if we were speaking about, you say in your director's notes that speaking up is never too late, and you're encouraging other people to speak up, and
Mm,
there are no truer words. It's really hard to talk about this film without giving away the abuse part.
mm,
But for me, I knew within the first 20 minutes where it was going, but that's only because of my personal history. And I get that. Can you speak to the overall aspect of that? And I know you spoke a little bit about it earlier, but how personal it is to you.
yeah. What happened to Eric happened to me, but not as bad. It's a sort of combination of my stories and the stories of people I talk to. Um, and 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 what happened to my story was that that person died, and I couldn't tell anyone about it, about him, when I found out that he passed away. But I wanted to tell people what he did, because I feel like what happened to me when I was young changed me. I questioned a lot of things. Um, I questioned, would my life be different if that what he did didn't happen to me when I was young. So, um, but then um like what I said a while ago, at first I was fueled with anger when I was doing this. It was a coping mechanism for me when I wrote down the story. But um, the anger is not gonna do anything for me and for the film. If anything, since animation it means to bring life, and I wanted the film to be a refuge or something that would give life or be a nudge to people to speak their truths, to reclaim their voices. So, um, more than me pushing animation here in the Philippines, I had this clear goal and message for the film, and I guess I pushed through with it up until I made it and up until I finished this.
Very, very, I mean, the ending is just perfect with him finding the missing body parts. And then that final line is just, I remember thinking, oh, please end here. And it did. Because
Okay.
there's so much story, that goes on after that. Like, did
Mm,
Rosalinda, the mother, did she know some, how
mm,
that notion of, wait a minute,
mm,
she had to have known comes into it. And all right, maybe a sequel, but you didn't need it there.
mm.
You ended it right at the perfect place.
I wanted it to end there because it's sort of a conclusion already, but um I got messages from people that Eric deserved more justice than what was shown. But for me, I think for people to admit and to speak up and to finally admit to themselves that I'm going to tell my loved ones about what happened. So that was already a step. I didn't want the film to really finish like it's really conclusive. I mean, I wanted the end to feel like it's a start of something, a start of probably a long process of recovery. So that was the end for me. And since that was my goal for the film, for people to speak up, I know from the get go that when Eric speaks just one line, spoiler alert, that's the end of the film.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you set it up right at the very beginning where he has no mouth,
Mm. Yeah,
and so it's his journey to the point where he can get it back. So, I mean, it worked. I thought it worked really well.
thank you. Thank you. And
Um,
actually, I was kind of scared to have people from outside of the Philippines see it. I'm not sure if it has appeal to, but I I know in my heart that uh the message and what happened to Eric is universal. Um, you can put this story in different countries and they would have a version of this story. But in a perfect world, these kinds of stories wouldn't exist. So, um,
yeah. Yeah, but we're not living in a perfect world. Now, I think
uh,
because it was so specific, it does have universal appeal. Uh, is the film also eligible for animated feature?
I'm not sure. I think they have this rule for it should be shown for 1 week in major cities in the
Oh, I see. Okay.
US.
That's a shame because I think it could. easily compete in that category too. Um, what are you developing next?
Aside from resting, um, because we worked on this film. I mean, even if I said that we just shot it in 4 days and we did the post processing for 7 to 9 months, but the pre-prod and writing and the planning and everything, storyboards, it took more than 1.5 years to get the film done. So for me, apart from resting, actually I want to make a theater theater musical.
Wow.
uh, yeah. Actually, my last film is also animated. It's an animated musical about a couple going through rough times. I want I want to adapt that to theater. So hopefully I could get that done.
Well, break
But
legs with that.
but in their film, I'm writing down a one, so it's also going to be animated, and hopefully I could get to work with Dolly again. So
Nice. Well, and
mm,
the last thing I want to ask you is, would you consider adapting this into a live action feature?
why not? I mean, the goal is again to spread the message of reclaiming your voice. So if that is going to help the mission or the goal, I guess that would be a great help.
Well, Carl, I want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with us. I think it's an exquisite film. I really hope it gets seen. And I wish you the best of luck with the 15, the short list that's coming out in December.
Well, it's already a great honor for people to see it, much so liking it. It and we are spreading the message, and that's good. Yeah, we also hope that we get that short list. And I don't remember if there has been a Filipino film that was shortlisted before. I'm not
I
quite
I don't
sure.
believe so, actually.
Mm, yeah, and we haven't been nominated since we've been submitting since 1956. So,
I
um,
know. I know. 34 submissions, and the Philippines has
30
never been nominated. Yeah.
I hope it's our time. I hope.
Well, I hope so too. Thank you so much, Carl.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Kind words, and I really appreciate it.